my friend. We're going to talk about a little music theory today. We always start with the circle of fifths on Tuesday. If you dig what I do here, please subscribe. Put your comments in the comment section. Keep them classy and clean if you could. The way I like to see it is, gee golly whiz. Everybody should be able to talk on the comment section, interact with each other. We're trying to form a little music community here. The musical alphabet, when we write it, relies on knowing there are only going to be X amount of notes. In a diatonic scale, there are 7. This is what we would know as a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. When I say 1 to 1, the reason being is the 1 is actually the 8. When we repeat 5, 6, 7, 8, this C major is this. So our 1 chord and the 8 are the same. We call them an octave. Our octave is very, very interesting because when we play from one side to the other, we have tones which pull every which way, giving a little gravitas towards how the chords sound, how individual notes sound, how harmonies are made, and then how other harmonies are made. We'll talk about why we could use stable chords like the C, E, and G in the key of C major, which has no sharps and flats. And then we could talk about having our relative minor. Sometimes I'll draw a big old line and talk about how all the tension kind of pulls from here, what the names of these are, like tonic or dominant. But the concept is, this isn't an overnight thing. This sometimes takes many, many years to learn these things. What we're trying to do is influence critical thinking skills, so one concept and one terminology or idea or vocabulary, you could put those glossary terms in your little tool bag of music and then pull them out later for writing, for improvisation, or just to nerd out and talk music theory with anybody. So I would love to say this. When we're playing out, we don't really think about this stuff. We just think about the notes that we practice. So one of the things that I do on my channel, I show people how to practice, what to practice, how to play different songs with different chords, and then how to shape those chords with different fingers, and then different inversions that are somewhere else on any given instrument. This is what the brain power is to understand the concept behind relationships of tones. When we go through, each one of these has something called seniority. A lot of people might refer to it as something along the lines of feeling, which is fine. Sometimes we could see these as just being Roman numerals, exhibiting our intervals and position location. So for this, when we're playing in the key of C major, the reason why we have spellings is because it spells out our chords. C, E, and G, D, F, and A. Kind of like a dolly ear. So, not dolly ear. Van Gogh ear. Anywho, this represents the F clef. So the bass clef is in the F clef, which means the line that's on when we're doing our lines. Here's the mini bass clef. If we were to do it, we'd put them on there, and bam. That means the second space from the top is going to be the F line on the bass clef. We would connect that with a big old line to make a grand staff, but we're just going to talk about the treble clef right now. This note, when we draw out our treble clef, if we were to get rid of the top extension, that would make the lowercase letter G. Therefore, that is a great starting point onto which we can go and play the whole scale. Meaning, if we can see ourselves going G, A, B, C, D, E, and then F, the reason why this is important is when we take C major, which has no sharps and flats, which is what this is, and then do this, putting a sharp on the F line, we have systematically changed C major to the key of G major. So what we see is when we erase, oh, you know what? I'm just going to erase these right here. Or actually, the whole thing. Ready to write it again. Ready to write it again. So we've got our 1, our 2, our 3, our 4, and our 5. Yes, the 6, and yes, the 7. We've got the seniority of a major, then a minor, then a minor, then a major, and a major, and a minor, and a diminished. Now, what we want to do is see that this note, when we went from C, D, E, F, G, in the key of C major, no sharps, no flats. C, D, E, F, G. G has 1 sharp. That first sharp is F. So, When we put G here, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, that F needs to be an F sharp. In fact, when we go around the circle of fifths, it gives us the next sharp. The first sharp is F sharp in the key of G. The next sharp is the next sharp is C sharp, which is in the key of D. Here's how my rationale goes towards it. If we've got G major, and G major exhibits for us G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Actually, I need a note behind this. G, 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 A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. When we go through the notes like this, we can see that G, A, B, C, D is the next number to pop true. Well, here's the idea. If we have this circle of fifths, and C has no sharps and flats, and we go, we get to our next chord. G major has one sharp. That sharp is, you guessed it, the F sharp. We said that D has C sharp. There we go. So let's just write that up. G, A, B, C, D. We didn't get to the F sharp in there, but if I did go past the number that I had already put, or not a number, but an interval that I already had a sharp on, I would say it. So when we go through, we have the next chord. We have D, E, F sharp, because it's in the key of G, A, B, and now C sharp. And if you want to see that written out, here's what it looks like. Using the memory old banks, G, A, B, C, D, G, A, B, C, D. D is now our new one. Boom. We're going to keep the F sharp that was from the key of G, and then we're going to add our new C sharp from the key of D. Thusly filling in D, E, F sharp, G, A, and then B. Notice how I'm writing the 2, 3, and 6 in lowercase letters. It's not necessary. However, I am exhibiting that they are minors. Sometimes you'll see in jazz a little hyphen next to it, which denotes a minor. And sometimes next to a chord, you'll see a triangle, which denotes a major. When we have these chords playing out in our brains, we start to become accustomed to what keys they're in. There are family chords, family keys, all sorts of stuff like that. So the concept that I like to portray is when we're doing the circle of fifths, you could go as slow or as fast as you like, but the concept that we move through is it goes through the circle of fifths this way, and then we're going to talk about the circle of fourths going that way. Whenever you go up in nature a fifth and go down in nature a fourth, you achieve the same goal. Those two would be the octave on both sides. C, D, E, F, G. When we go backwards from C, we have C, B, A, G. 4 notes down is the same as 5 notes up. So when we go through the circle of fifths this way, it's also the circle of fourths that way. The next note that would happen would be an A, and then we would have an E, then a B, an F sharp. If we kept going along the circle here, we would have a G flat, which is F sharp, our D flat, which is going to be C sharp, and then our B was our C flat, which that covers our other side. We would also have our, my brain just stopped working, A, E, B flat, and then F. Now I know this looks like a whole bunch of chicken scratch, but here's the way to look at it. If we keep going around, each one of these adds on the letter right before it. So if we did A major, the A would take all of the sharps that were in every key, A, B, right in the C sharp, because that was from D. We would have A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C. My brain is not working this morning. D, E, F sharp, and then we would have G sharp, because that's the last sharp to be added in the key of A. Hence, this works. If you haven't noticed yet, the circle of sharps also works as well. No sharps goes to F sharp. It's the first sharp. When we play F and we say F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. Boom, that's our next sharp. C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. G sharp. Boom. The next one we go G, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. So in the key of E, we have a D sharp. And you'll notice when we rewrite these, each time E, put the one right before it, D, sharpen it, make sure we go through and we add all the sharps that were previously there. You could go through the method of writing it all the way through, or writing E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then going back and writing in all the sharps. Doesn't matter which way you do it, as long as you're confident that when you go to B, you know there's 5 sharps. The new sharp that's added is A sharp. When we go here and we go to F sharp, right before F sharp is an E sharp. And then right before B would be a, you see it, the A sharp. When we go through the process of seeing all these, We show up for our sharps, we put them in here, and decidedly, we can see that some of these are enharmonic equivalences. So one of the things that I want to do right now is just highlight why we use these. Let's say you're writing a little ditty and you're playing your instrument. Here, let me grab something. Grab a guitar. Oh, by the way, if you like this, maybe share it. Tell a couple people about it. We're here on Tuesdays doing 9 to 10, answering a couple music questions, music theory related. If you have questions about what you're doing, that'd be super cool to see. Other than that, thanks for being here. All right. So, if I was just going to write a little bitty ditty, and let's say we're writing something in the key of, oh, we don't have a key up there? Let's write a key later. Let's say I'm just going to write out something in the key of D major. D major, I would have something along the lines go to D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor. We could have C sharp diminished, no matter how you like to play your C sharp diminished, or we could just play an A7, which works well, and then back to D. So for this, if I wanted to write a little ditty, let's say I wanted to do a D major, and then I wanted to do an F sharp minor. Then I want to do an A major, and keep that A going twice. If I did it again and played all the way through, I would go all the way back to this chord. And the reason why we do this is to write charts, to put music down, to be able to do chord analyzation, so when you hear something, you go through the process of hearing it one way, you listen to it in one key, and if you're writing your own music, you're able to use the circle of fifths to transpose. It also gives you an idea of where all your relative majors and minors are. Being able to see that you could swap out chords, have chord substitutions, and then finally, one of the best tools to use it for is the mechanism where you twist it back and forth, and you're actually able to move things so you can see modes and scales, which is really, really cool. Charismatically awesome. Cool. So I'm going to show you a couple of these charts. Have fun checking this out, and we'll be right back with. Right on. So that's why we do charts, at least why I do charts. I write a couple, million tunes. A lot of music out there. It's more or less through the concept of being able to figure out what chords fit together, how to do form, doing things that haven't been done, rearranging, learning all the rules, breaking all the rules is kind of where we're at. So for what we're going to do today, we're just going to take some of these chords from the circle of fifths, put them in order so we can make our own progression, show you how to write a little bitty chart like what we just saw, and then how to use modes over the top. So if we're going to be doing something right here with a guitar, let's say we're doing it with the D major we're just talking about. D major, 2, 3, 4, F sharp minor, 2, 3, 4, A major, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. That phrasing in the key of D major, write it out with me. If you have a piece of paper and pencil and you're doing it, do it. Yes, do it. We're going to write out the circle of fifths right now. When we do this, we're just going to have a big old circle. Going to have our C, our G, D. We're going to have a A, E, B, F sharp. When I write these out, I write them out right to there, and then the next one I put here, I'm going to put a C sharp. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are all of our notes. So when I go on the opposite side and I do F, we'll leave that one in a really cool color just so it's different. We have a B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and then a G flat, and then a C flat. These are our alternate chords. So like these tree down here, the B is a C flat. The F sharp is a G flat. And lo and behold, the C sharp, it is a D flat. So the reason why we want to take a moment to explain why this is will make sense for naming things. And I hope that you pay attention to this because I would not say things twice. So when writing 1, 2, 3, this is way too weird. All right, and then 4, 5, 6, and 7, we've exhibited that we have a major as our 1, 4, and our 5, minor as our 2, 3, and 6. So in the key of D, we would have a D major, E minor, F sharp minor. We would have a G major, A major, B minor, and then a C sharp diminished. Now, all this means is we're talking about those aforementioned harmonies. We've got a 1, 3, 5 on every one of these. But the first one has a 1, 3, which is a major third. When we flatten that median, or the third, we get a minor. So a D minor would be a D, F, A. Because we would take the D, F sharp A and go, wow, there we go, half of a step down. The interval is called a minor second or a half step, which is the smallest interval in all of Western ear music. When we drudge through this, we get D, F sharp A as our 1. We get E, G, B, E minor. It's the same E minor that was in the key of C as the third, and it's the same E minor that's in the key of G as the sixth. Knowing that is super valuable, and we could use a circle fifth to find. The reason why these are interesting, and I wanted to put it this way, is when we have this circle fifth, it allows us to modulate. Now that we have our key and we know what all these are, I would see our A minor, E minor, our B minor, F sharp minor. If you go through the process of seeing C sharp minor is the relative minor of E, that means that all the notes in the key of C are all the notes in the key of A minor. Hence, most people musically get to the point where they understand major. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Simply to make a major a minor, we flatten the 3, 6, and 7. So we'd have 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. That drastic change in just the third changes the way we feel about the collection of those 7 tones, which essentially that's all scales are. They're collections of tones. Unfortunately, we generally learn how to do them in order, forwards and backwards, which is fine. That's how we learn notes. But that does nothing for the actual concept of practicing or utilizing notes out of order to create melodies, which inevitably develop because of playing. So it's a dual-edged sword. It's a kind of teeter-totter of music theory, how it goes along. You learn it while you're doing it, and then you express yourself with it. And practice. When you do it, it just becomes a little easier. Okay, so going through the process of singing this, D, in between D and E, we have a D sharp, And as I said, enharmonically, we also call D sharp and E flat. In between E and F, in between E and F sharp, there is an F. In between F sharp and G, there is no half step. That is our half step. So what we've learned from the key of C, if we looked at a piano, there are black keys, there are white keys. When we put our hands on two groupings, one of 2 notes, one of 3 notes of black notes, get rid of the ones of 3. When we play those 2 black notes, the C sharp and the D sharp, or the E flat and the D flat, if we go down a half step from that first black key, it gives us a C natural. In the case of all 88 keys moving right towards the middle, that's called middle C. That is the note that we see below the treble clef on the first ledger line. So whenever you see a note that presumptuously lies right there, we know that that's a C. In case you ever see a ledger line and a note above it, it helps you know that's the D. Yeah, there we go. That's the whole point of learning a little bit of music theory at a time. Half steps are between the 3 and the 4, and then the 7 and the 1, or the 7 and the 8, as we aforementioned. I personally don't write the 8. I think it's confusing. There are only 7 notes in a diatonic scale. What I'm showing you right here, that there are 12 notes in a chromatic scale. Those are the 2 different scales. Between a G and an A, yes, sir! There's a G sharp and an A flat. And betwixt the A and the B, A sharp, enharmonically, it's also called a B flat. Why do I keep saying enharmonically? What is that in math? Equal sign. Yes. So on one side of the equation, you have a variable, and on the other side, your variables are your notes. If your variables were actually notes, when we have a note, it is just a single tone. Ah. But when we have 2 notes, it becomes a harmony. 2 notes create tension between those 2 wavelengths. Hence, harmony enharmonic. You will see it abbreviated as EH, enharmonic equivalencies. And these mean that if you play an A sharp, you can say things as a B flat as well. Now here's where it gets important, and I didn't forget about the idea about this. I don't say things twice. Therefore, I would not say D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Rather than saying C sharp, I wouldn't say D flat. Even though D flat is the same thing as C sharp, it would just be odd. In between B and C sharp, there's a C. Well, yeah, that's a C natural, but that's our 7th right here. In between the 6 and the 7, we also have a minor 7th. This is our major 7th. This is our major 6. In between a major 6, you have a minor 6. This is our 5 chord. This is our flat 5. This is our 4, or our perfect. This is our 3rd. It determines major minor. When you flatten it, you have a minor 3rd. This is our major 2nd, and then you have a minor 2nd. Going that way, we call them diminished chords. Going this way, sharpening, we call them augmented chords. There are multiple ways to name chords. So if I had a 1, 3, 5 and I sharpen the 5, I would have A sharp. I wouldn't call it a B flat. Why? Because there's already a B in the key of D. The note that I am changing happens to be the A, so I can call it an A sharp. There will be exceptions to this. There will be concepts that come out and they change the way that you think, like a lot of people don't know this. When you have a chord and you sharpen it, this is the note of G. The G sounds like this. La 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 la. That was flattening and going back up. That's a G sharp. And then this is a double sharp, G double sharp. G double sharp is an A natural. It's weird, but there will be circumstances. We'll get into that later in more music theory. The reason why I'm saying this is you don't need to change the notes, only the note you're talking about. If I wanted to take an exploration of music theory and we were to say D, F sharp, A, and C, we would have D, F sharp, and A, which is 1, 3, 5. That gives us a major. So when we have these notes, we would see that as being a major chord. 1, 3, 5, that's what the triangle represents. And then when we have the C here, what is the C in correlation to all this nonsense? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. C is a C sharp in the key of D. Therefore, when we go to the note in betwixt B and C sharp, we get a C. That's what this is. It's called a dominant 7th or a minor 7th. So it gets rid of this functionality because that only is reserved, ow, for that seventh, the natural seventh. When we have a D7, that simply means that when we play our chord of a D7, we take the chord phrasing, we build it from the bottom up, which means if this is an F sharp on the bottom here, we have F sharp, A, D, and then when we play the G string, we have another A, and then we have a D, and then up top, we have an F sharp. So when we play this D major, if we move down one of the D's to the F sharp, I'm sorry, C sharp, it would give us D major 7. I was thinking ukulele, that's a G on a uk. When we play the D major 7, we have our D, F sharp, A, and then C sharp. And then if we move this C sharp down to a C natural, and then put the two fingers back on the F sharp, and then the A with the D at the bottom, we get something called a D dominant 7. Now, musicians, we be kind of lazy mentally. It's easier just to say D7. That's why we do that. We don't call it a dominant 7. If we called it a dominant 7, we'd be adding way too many notes. Or too many words to our phrasing. So the concept here is I wouldn't call that a B sharp. Most people wouldn't call a C a B sharp anyways, but enharmonically you can. I just wouldn't call it that just because the idea we want it to be the C because we're replacing that note for that chord. Cool. So getting back to our phrasing, if we had a chord chart, I'm going to be playing this in 4/4. Putting a double bar means we're at the beginning of the measure. I do believe we played a D major. Then we were going to go over here and we split our time, put another measure. So this whole measure has 1, 2, 3, 4. The next measure, the second measure, has 4 beats as well. We went to an F sharp minor. And then our next phrasing went to an A. And since I'm lazy, I'm just going to put a little percent sign here. And that means I'm going to repeat that A. I would like to end the phrasing here with the double bar and just repeat this. And I'm going to put 2 dots on the inside, marking this as a repeated measure. Since I'd like to play this exponentially, I might just put like a little number down here at the bottom, like 8 times. Boom. So I know to play this 8 times. It takes out the concept of playing those 2 times and plays through it. Here's what it would feel like if we were going through this concept just to hear the notes. If you're in tune with me, I would love you to play along. And if you're enjoying this, please share. I'd love for somebody to come on Tuesdays, ask a couple questions. Every once in a while, I'm bombarded with a bunch of questions, which is great. I always try to get to everybody. Sometimes there's nobody here like today. However, I'm sure somebody will go back and watch this and have fun with it. So, if I was playing this groove and I had this D major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'm already starting to develop melody lines in my head, and they're based off of just hearing the major and minor tonalities in the beginning. And then kind of what I'm feeling here, if I'm going to be writing a tune, let's say I just wanted to add a melody line. Well, the melody line can be composed of a couple different things. Modally, which is what we're going to talk about right now, I would choose over the top of a D major to start trying to play something like a D major scale. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. These scales have different patterns. When we learn them, as I said before, they're great to learn the note names and their positions, but as far as like being able to utilize them, something's lost in translation because a lot of people don't really just take the time to go like, and get really familiar with just those 2 notes, the minor second. The idea in guitar is you want to diddly 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 whoa, but one of the concepts is if you have a backing track going, playing. Anyway, I would write that as my next line down here. But since we're just working with this and we're talking about modes, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. That's over this fretting. If we were to move our positioning and move it up, we would play D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Now, granted, this is just for a guitar, but whatever your instrument is, get used to where your notations are. Then, when you have your backing track or your partner, musical duos, playing the groove, you can take turns going back and forth and writing different lines. So if this is what's going on in the background, keep it in your head. Maybe next week I'll hook up a looper. So what I'm doing is going through my modes. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D is D Ionian or D major. When the chord moved to the F sharp minor, my first thought was, gee golly whiz, what's my next chord? My next chord is an A. It just so happens that A major and F sharp minor are super close. A major and F sharp minor share a key. So if I were to play an A major pentatonic or an F sharp minor pentatonic, that would be considered a natural minor, or we can consider it the Aeolian mode. The Aeolian mode is the sixth mode of our system of diatonics, meaning the first mode in the key of D when played like that, it just doesn't have context. But if we were to do it within the background, can I keep that A major and that F sharp minor? Yeah, they're the same, but what about D major? That note right there that I felt intrinsically to go to is the G. Over the top of an A, it makes an A7. The A7 feels exactly like a C sharp diminished, which goes into a D. So if I wanted to rewrite this, I could use my circle of fifths to go, cool, I'm going to play this like 2 times, or let's say 3 times. Hey. And then the last time, rather than doing the A and the A, and sometimes you can do the A set, or the A all the way through here, you use the feeling of that secondary tone. So you would have another line right below it, draw out all your measures. You can put a double bar down here because that's where we're going to end. The tone we want to do is the A7. When going through here, it's going to be the same movements. But watch what I'm about to do. The relative minor of D major is D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. So if you can go D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. B minor is the 6th. This last one is a minor and it shares the same key as your 1 chord. Therefore, when you play B minor over the top of a D major, you get great tones. If our groove was this, la da 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 da, here's our D. So rather than playing our D major kind of scale, anywhere that D major scale is, you can play the notes in B minor if you want. That B minor, of course, would be that natural minor, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Wherever that is on your instrument, find that. Learn the positionings or the fingerings for that. And the practice to get around these notes would be like if you're playing a B minor pentatonic at the 7th fret of a guitar, you would have what I like to call minor thirds, spider exercises. All those notes can hypothetically work. So can all of those. The 3 middles would be 3 note variations, and then again back to the 4 note variation. In my opinion, every single one of these minor seconds could work. If we have a D major, you could have a... Every one of those notes has possibility. Some of them might not feel right, but when you're flowing through notes, they do. The way we practice those pentatonics isn't just... We do them in variations, like... So we get feelings like top note, 4th, 1, 4. When going through the process, they don't have to be that way. want to do sky's the limit. But do you hear how well a B minor would work over the top of its relative major, a D major? They're both very, very similar. They share many, many notes. In fact, all of them. All right, so that's what I use the circle of fifths for. The modes that I would go over are going to be the ones that I want you to practice this week, if you can practice them. I'm going to flop this out for a B minor here. In the chordage, the F sharp and A can switch places. Why not? Heck, we could even use negative harmony if we wanted to here. And we could take this from being just an A. Let's not do negative harmony. That's too much in a lesson. Only have a couple more minutes here. Let's just do the F sharp, and then the A7 might make sense there. Let's see how this sounds all together now. All together now. 1, 2, 3, down strokes with... Just solo over the top of this, feel free. Use those modes we were talking about. That groove. So I missed that B the first time. I'm sure if you're watching you saw that. The idea is this is a great way to just start writing a chart. And the last thing I want to leave you with is what am I doing here? What are you doing here? We're learning a little theory. That's what's up. So we're going to go over here. We're going to erase all of the lettering, but we're going to do one quick thing. I'm going to take this key and erase the key. We're going to write in another key. So how about the key of A? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, currently, we have this in an A minor. We definitely need to sharpen the median, and we definitely need to sharpen the major 6, and we definitely need to sharpen the major 7. Why? The first key that has a sharp is G. That's our F sharp. The next key, if we go G, A, B, C, D, D has one sharp or two sharps in it. That next sharp we add is a C sharp. D, E, F, G, A. So A has 3 sharps. The last one is which? G sharp? You betcha. So we now don't have A, B, C. We have A, B, C, A, B, C, D, E, F rather than F. I know it's just a slight difference, but gee golly whiz, that just changes the way the ear hears it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If we had a backdoor resolution, it wouldn't just be the major 7th. We'd have the minor 7th. As we talked about earlier, G sharp is the major 7th. In between G sharp and F sharp, we have a G natural. So we'd have a G natural as our minor 7th. And I know, these terms are very... they're hard to understand at first, but the idea is we just do this daily. You pick up what you can. If you can pick up 10% of what we're talking about in this session lesson, awesome. All right, so here we go. I want to change this. So why would I write a chart like this and have to rewrite it when I could write a chart that doesn't have just the D in there, but it has the 1 chord? Now, let me write in a different color. Why? D was the 1 in the key of D, right? So I'm going to change that. The F sharp in the key of D was the minor 3rd. So I'm going to put a minor third. The A in the key of D was the 5 chord. And then it repeated. So repeat that there. The B minor in the key of D major was a 6 chord. So we're going to put a lowercase 5, 6, 5, 6. The A again is the 5 chord. Noise. The F sharp in the key of D was the 3 chord again. And then we have an A7. Now here's really cool. Watch this. We're going to do the same thing we had an example of earlier. A major in the key of D. D, E, F sharp, G, A was the 5th. We're going to take this 5 and make it a 5 dominant. Remember how we wrote the D7 and it was different than our D major 7? If we wanted a 5 major 7, we would put that little triangle there. But we don't. We want it to be a lending tone or leading tone. It sounds exactly like a C sharp diminished. Well, kind of. They share some notes. So one of the things we can do is like look at this through the eyes of D and then hear what it sounds like in the key of A. Hence, using the circle of fifths to transpose this in one key, compose it, arrange it, make a melody, and then modulate to another key might be an option. It's one of the ways we use music theory and form to get from one place to another to create tension, build melodies, have themes, cadences, progressions. Super, super groovy stuff. Also, if you have any questions about this stuff, Adrian, go to any comment section on any one of my videos and ask a question. I will get back to you. And here's what it sounded like in D. Oh, let me turn on the little... Remember, if you have time on Tuesdays, 9 to 10, music theory, ask some questions. This is what we were doing. We were doing this 3 times with the D major to the F sharp minor. And then we were going to the A major. And then the last time, rather than doing it all these times, I'm just going to do this the last time. The last time we did a B minor, the relative minor of D. Then we went to an A major. So we're doing the same chord, just out of order. We did the F sharp minor and then the A7. Sounded like the C sharp diminished, which would always go back to that D or D minor, either way. So the concept is staying within key. If I wanted to modulate, I would just use a 5 dominant from another chord. We're happen to be moving and modulating into the key of A. So if I wanted to go to the key of A, let me see if I can get that in the screen as well. If I want to go to the key of A, and then I wanted to modulate right there from that groove, D major, F sharp minor, A dominant 7, sure. But if I split that measure with the A dominant 7, or A dom 7, A7, and then played a quick E dominant 7, I can transition directly into A major. That's an example of using something called a secondary dominant. It takes the dominant that's already in the key, like this one, in the key of D, use our imaginations, D, E, F sharp, G, A. A is the dominant of the key of D. Therefore, when we make the 5 a 5 dominant or a 5-7 chord, it feels like it wants to go back to the 1. It has natural resolution and tension release. It's amazing. The next thing we would do is say, well, what the heck was that E7? Well, in the key of A, B, C, D, E, E is the 5th. So if we were to take that quick A, and then we were to play an E7 on any instrument, again, that would then put us into the key of A, and then we could start our progression over again. And our progression in the key of A sounds like A major goes to a C sharp minor, and then the 5 chord of A is going to be E. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and... I'm already seeing that I like the key of A because I think an E sus sounds really cool. E major, put down the pinky right above on there. This last time we're going to the relative minor of A, which is F sharp minor. We're going back to the 5, which is going to be the E. The minor third, which is our C sharp minor. And then we're going to play the 5 dominant of the key of A, which is our E7. What we've just done is gone in and out of 2 different keys, wrote a little groove here, and then the last thing we would do would be explaining, well, gee golly whiz, once we have our melody, the rhythm written, what would we like to do as far as modally? I can tell you here, there aren't a lot of chords in here that have variation is different than a 1-3-5, except for that 5 dominant. So when playing the 5 dominant, I would simply talk about playing a modal structure called Mixolydian. When we play our modes, we explained that in a key, if you have A to B, that's a major second. B to C sharp, that is a major second. C sharp to D, minor second. So that's where I think the meat and potatoes of all of my melodies will be. Some might differ, but when I'm playing and I like to hear like this progression, it's going to be major here. When we go to the C sharp minor, I'm going to play probably pentatonic wise, but I'm still kind of feeling A major to C sharp minor. C sharp minor is nothing more than E major to me with the extension of one finger. If I start on that one note, yeah, it feels major, but if I don't start on that one note, it feels minor. That's what modes do for us. So if I wanted to play C sharp minor, C sharp minor, and I wanted to make any of those notes different, let's say I wanted to start on not the 1, the flat 3, or the 2, but I wanted to start on the 4 chord and continue the natural minor. I would have a different variation of notes, which all can be a part of C sharp minor or E major. Hence, in the progression, when I play an A, I can play A major. I can play F sharp or A minor pentatonic. When we go to the C sharp minor, we can play E major. We can play C sharp minor, Aeolian, natural minor. We can also play a whole variation of other minor modes built off of that, like melodic minor, harmonic minor, but that is for a different musical theory explanation. Tell you what, I hope you really enjoyed what we did today. Take these ideas and practices. Learn one key only if you're just beginning this. Learn C major. When you learn C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you will learn that that is Ionian. If you start on the second D and play the same scale and end on a D note, that gives you the tonation over a D minor. These are your modes. C major, D minor, E Phrygian. Groovy, huh? F Lydian. It has a B natural. F major should have a B flat. Do, re, mi, fa. When we raise that to a fa, we have a sharp 4. Hence, the 4th scale degree that we would be talking about would be Lydian. The ones that are the easiest to learn after majors, which would be Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. So you can only have the mode of E Lydian in the key of A or F sharp, but you can play it anywhere over anything and try and make it work. And what you'll notice is some notes are really off, some notes are really on. It depends on the chord construction. So if you've got a chord, and this is what I'll really leave you on because I got a student ready to rock. If you were playing something along the lines of a C9, on a guitar we would play our 1 and 3. That's our harmony. We would include our flat 7. In this case, it's a B flat. And then we would lay our finger all the way across to incorporate the 9. We'd have a D all the way up top. It would feel super groovy. In fact, you could even hit that G if you want to. This is, what, the James Brown? Ow! When we do this, you'll notice that the notes that we see here, if we go up the scale degree, you will find yourself going 1, 3, 5. That's what we were playing. But we were playing essentially 1 and 3 right now. That's our tone. When we add the G natural right here, we get our minor 7th tone, which gives us a dominant. That's a C7 or an E diminished. And then when we add our 9th, A, B, 8, 9. G is our 7, resolution is our 8 or our 1, and then 9. So we would be adding a B over the top. Hence, you'd have these really cool like chords going through like. And that B note that you're hearing can be added too. Fun. If you enjoyed today, please put a thumbs up, subscribe, send this to somebody you really like and you want to do music theory with. And Tell you what, we'll see you again next week, because I try and do this every week, Tuesday, 9 to 10, to help people who are just learning the circle of fifths, learning some music theory, checking out what triads are, the 1, the 3, and the 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. And then going from there, trying to explore every different key. Every one of these is a little different than the one before, but they're primarily all the same. If you enjoyed me, you enjoy this channel, please subscribe, thumbs up, and watch the thousands of other videos that are on this channel and have a fun. Thanks so much. Aloha.